Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma and Zach Celadonia.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. My name's Joe Kuzma, and I'm back, as well as Zach Flash Celadonia. He's also back. We're done vacationing, and yeah, now we're back to our respective spots up north. How's that make you feel, Zach?
Great. It's hot here, so I'm loving it. I know a lot of people are upset with the heat, but I made a deal with fate, God, whoever you want to say, that during the harsh winters, I was like, I will never complain when it's hot in Pittsburgh. I don't care how hot it is. So I've been loving the weather, honestly. I'm eating it up.
Yeah, where I'm at, it got up to 95. I'm like, you know what, though? The Florida sun, still, that just hits different. It really does. And it was like,
oh yeah,
96, 97. You know, we're both, I was debating. I'm kind of off brand today, and for a good reason. Just coming back from the vacation, the Star Wars cap, because we got the final episode of Obi-Wan, of which we won't spoil anything because neither one of us have watched it yet. See, we put the people before our very own needs.
I know. Yeah. Feel important, people, and yourself. I'm dying to watch the finale of Obi-Wan right now, but I successfully avoided spoilers online all day today. So we're good for now.
You know, I'm pretty much been social media free for like the last week, and I cannot tell you, it's almost like one of the, I've never actually done one of those diet cleanse whatever things that flushes everything out of your system and whatnot. But since we've gotten together and had a chance to talk, we were talking the last time that Omar Khan, he hadn't done anything. You know what I mean? I'm like, hey, this guy got the job. He's just got his 2 feet up on the desk and what's going to happen here? And lo and behold, not only did we get news, we got a little bit extra news. We got some bonus news before we're able to hop on. This probably will be our only edition of the Steel City Underground podcast this week. However, just because of all the different scheduling, and Brian is flying like overseas somewhere crazy too. So we've got all kinds of things going in every direction. Before you know it, we'll have a training camp right around the corner, but we did get some exciting news. So we're going to talk about 2 of the moves that Omar Khan just recently made in his new position as the Steelers general manager, as well as maybe 1 or 2 more he could be looking to do here in the near future. But the big one coming out of last week was, I had an image just drawn up. I was like, I meant to show Omar Khan because he's got a beautiful bald head, looks just like mine. So
oh yeah, runs in the GM pool.
we gotta represent there. But the big news, as we really thought that these moves would happen more in the Kevin Colbert area. Would wait until he gets everyone to St. Vincent and then sweat them out for a lesser deal. But Minkah Fitzpatrick, now the highest paid safety in the NFL, and I had the numbers somewhere. Let's see if I could pull it up. Oh, of course, no. I had the tweet I saved from Andrew Filipponi instead, of course. but that's actually a little bit later when we talk about the other signing that Omar Khan made. Steelers and all-pro safety Minkah Fitzpatrick, they reached an agreement on a massive 4-year contract extension. It's worth $18.4 million per year. And last time I checked, that's a substantial bucket of money. So $36 million guaranteed. You know, well, we're going to start seeing some things maybe change with how the Steelers work with guaranteed money. 36 guaranteed at signing per source. The deal is negotiated, confirmed, blah, 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 by his agent, and it makes Fitzpatrick the highest paid safety in the NFL now. So that's, I was trying to pull up where we had Adam Schefter. There's the official tweet there. That came in across, when was that? Yeah, as soon as I left, I was on a plane and for vacation, and then boom, wouldn't you know it, here's the news that drops. I'm like, you suckers. And I'm
was
like,
it before or after you had to go on airplane mode?
I believe it was just before.
Oh, okay, so you got to see it before the flight, though.
Yeah, and I was like,
all right, well, that's good. Did you get any tweets off?
I was just, no, I didn't break the news. I'm not like trying to steal anyone's thunder.
You gotta react though, dude.
I'm not
People
posing.
are wanting to hear your opinion.
I hit retweet a couple times. I actually think I was. I think I was just like wheels were about to go up. So yeah, it was just like, man. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I didn't get a chance to talk about any of this. So there's some people who actually don't like this deal. Can you
Oh yeah,
believe
yeah.
that?
Here's my shocked face. If you're not on YouTube, you can't see, but it's a straight face. Here's my shocked face. People are upset about something the Steelers did that is generally perceived as a good thing, but they're upset. That is the least shocking thing you'll hear this week.
Because you know what? There's somebody at Pro Football Phonies that thinks Minkah Fitzpatrick was like I don't know, his number is 39. Let's just say 39th ranked. They didn't have him in the top 32. They didn't think he was better than like a bunch of starters all the way around the league at his position. And you just don't realize just how much this dude does when he's on the field. And
Yeah, that's a
anybody,
try hard move. There's no way they genuinely believe that. Even the most severe Steeler haters, the most die-hardiest Bengals, Browns, Ravens fan, they will admit Minka's sick and like he's a really good safety. Even if you think he's not top five, which he is, if you don't think that he there's no way he can sneak out of any logical fan's top 10. There's 0% chance with the change that he has made to the Pittsburgh defense since arriving. It's astronomical. It's night and day. We witnessed it live time. And I don't know about pro football, phonies as you're calling them, but
I need a
there is a
name for
website.
him. I need a name for him because they thought TJ Watt was the fourth best edge rusher. And that's I don't know what's his name, Sam Monson.
I was just gonna say, yeah, they even count
or,
sacks weird. They probably gave him like 4 sacks on the year.
Yeah, he didn't have the they have this statistic HQ, high quality sacks. I'm
There
like,
you go.
TJ Watt's not being paid by HQ sacks. I can tell you that much. He's being paid by sacks. And then you have strip sacks. You have fumbles forced, fumbles recovered. Dude scored a touchdown by himself. Really thought that they had a chance against the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs just because of TJ Watt alone.
Yeah.
Defensive player of the year. Runner up 2 years out of 3, finally gets the award. And yeah, they have him as the fourth. And the guy tries to defend it, and he's like, oh, the Steelers people, they're going to be up in my mentions and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, rightfully so, dude. You should be ratioed every single time. And
First step's admitting it,
I subtweeted him. And if people don't, I know that's a little bit of the lit language that the kids like yourself out there that use all the colorful language and these new fangled sayings. But ratio just meaning like they're dumping on him. But I subtweeted him. I don't think I actually mentioned him or retweeted him. And he must have had me in his alerts or something because he just came on and was replying and went over this on the show probably around the end of last year or something. I think me and Brian were talking about it. And I don't know that we had this get up yet where I was able to actually show it in the back and forth. It was just like, man, you're coming at me. And it's like, I didn't even come at you. I kind of like left his name out, protect the guilty.
Yeah, he was creeping on your profile.
I can't believe it.
He was name searching whoever you were talking about, which is also possible. And he just recognized your profile from a previous scuffle you guys had. But yeah, sounds like he was creeping on your profile. Take it as a compliment that he's checking up on you.
Oh yeah, I guess so. But it was just it was creeping and creepy, and I'm just kind of like it's indefensible. Like I don't care what hocus pocus that you're coming up with. It's just that it seemed to dog the Steelers players. Like Deontay Johnson's never going to show up in one of their wide receiver rankings. It doesn't matter.
No, you know what's funny is like you want to talk hocus pocus and numbers and magic. This is great because there was another website, it's Pro Football Reference. Look out, coming through. They have Minkah ranked as the number 1, like most impactful safety in the NFL per their formula. And they're a legit website. Like they are confirmed. They are like just up there with Pro Football Focus, and they have Minkah as the number 1 impact safety. And the rankings are him, Justin Simmons, Kevin Byard, Jesse Bates, and then Logan Ryan. So it's not bullshit. Like those are some of the best safeties in the NFL ranked right behind him. So that's not a fluke. And even more of a mind-blowing stat for you or hocus pocus number, they have Minkah ranked as the number 2 overall defensive back behind only Jalen Ramsey. That's how impactful he is per their formula, their numbers, because they probably know, which even the dumbest Steeler fan can like latch onto this concept. Minkah doesn't get 5 interceptions, 6 interceptions, 7 a year anymore or at all because quarterbacks don't try him, dude. He's doing his job. He's over the top. If Minkah isn't doing his job, a quarterback will take his shot. We've seen it done. He's not perfect, but he's pretty freaking close. And the idea that, oh, he doesn't get interception, that is such a mind-numbing like argument to get in with people because you feel like you're talking down to them and explaining to them. Dude, you ever notice how a lot of shutdown corners don't post a lot of interceptions because the quarterbacks are scared. They're afraid to throw it, Minkah. That is, he takes away half of the field, if not more. And as of last year, he's apparently our best tackler on the team, aside from TJ Watt. So he's a complete safety. He deserves the money. I mean, I got his jersey as soon as we traded for him 2 times over. You won't hear me saying anything negative towards the deal. And his press conference was just the icing on the cake. He's the most humble dude I've ever heard speak. It's incredible.
Yeah, and I was trying to find he owns, just like TJ Watt does, like some bizarre statistics. The only guy to, I don't know, shuffle backwards with his shoes tied or whatever, kind of like, I don't
on
know.
a Wednesday.
Yeah,
in the rain.
it's, but he's two-time first team All-Pro, 2-time Pro Bowler, 13 interceptions. Oh, this is all with I don't know if it was all with the Steelers actually. 13 interceptions, 36 passes, defense, 3 defensive touchdowns, 4 forced fumbles, 5 fumble recoveries, 239 solo tackles, which, by the way, his 124 tackles last year was the most by a Steelers defensive back in team history. It led all NFL defensive backs, and it's top 20 in most tackles by a DB in a season in NFL history. I mean, it was pretty much
had that. Honestly, that's surprising. That's impressive.
Yeah, pretty much last line of defense. If we're talking about Minkah Fitzpatrick here, and dude, I got to show. They have bubble helmets. People still are familiar with the Guardian helmets, but the big bubble things that they're putting on they're mandated by the NFL now. And I believe they have to, did I read this right or see this right? They're going to be wearing these in preseason games, I think, too.
What? No, I did not hear that.
Yeah.
That cannot be true.
Yeah.
That cannot be true, dude. There's no way they're playing with those things on. They won't stay on if they're sprinting full speed, will they?
I don't know. Well, they strap. Hold on, I'll pull it back up on the screen for those who can see it on the video.
They are
version.
not wearing those in preseason.
Yeah, they strap up in the top of the inside of the face mask. I mean, it really makes it. It really takes away from the visor game, as you can see.
Dude, that's ridiculous. They look like a bunch of dark helmets out there from Spaceballs.
Spaceballs.
Remember that movie?
Yes.
When I was born.
Yeah, being that I just went to Epcot, they had like the one thing with Figment, and go in and it has Rick Moranis there. I was just talking about it. That's
cool.
like, there's a guy that's like a throwback because they had him as was it Walter Zielinski? You ever watch Honey, I Shrunk the Kids?
Yes, dude, absolutely. I love Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
I was just checking. I know you're a youngin over there, so
I was in a lot of summer camps growing up because my parents, like, I have an older sibling, so they were 9-to-5ers or worse. So they would drop me off at the summer camps, and from time to time, if it was raining outside or whatever, we would have movie days. So that's how I got accustomed to a lot of those Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and Mighty Ducks, all those like 90s. Homeward Bound, which I hate. I know, I wish I never seen Homeward Bound, but I had to watch that like 3 times. So yeah, I'm well introduced to the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids movies.
Yeah, there was Honey, I Blew Up the Baby, and then like Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves or something. It was like just churn out the sequels, but there's nothing like the OG there. So, I read this wrong. I believe this is Pro Football Talk that says this here, because I was like, wait, preseason? And I was just glossing over it. From the beginning of training camp until the second preseason game. So, okay. and it's specifically it's supposed to be, they passed the rule in March for offensive linemen, tight ends, defensive linemen, and linebackers. So Minkah was still wearing it because basically he's like a linebacker. I mean,
yeah,
that's the way you guys see it. And it's just funny because people were still, they didn't give the 5th-year option to Terrell Edmonds, remember? And this is why. You've got one guy that's landing like a milestone deal and being the highest paid at his position. Now they got two of the highest paid defensive players, and if I believe correctly, the highest paid defense in the NFL now as well, with this contract and the one for TJ Watt. And then you turn around and look and see the Derek Watt by cap number only, not average per year or anything else, but by cap number, he's got the largest cap hit of all of the. If you call it Steelers offense, because it's still kind of like tongue in cheek, he's probably not the highest special teams paid player either. I believe that's Chris Boswell, or maybe Chris Boswell might be next in line to get the bag, man. So that's what I'm thinking with Omar Khan and maybe the next move here, because I love people that were trolling. I believe Chris Boswell in the last few playoff games for the Steelers has been a perfect 12 for 12 on field goals. I believe he's been perfect with PATs as well. But Justin Tucker, his competition, has missed 4 of them. So, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's floating around there. Of course, you can't believe everything you read on the internet. So it was in a meme and somebody was trolling. And I'm like, yeah, but.
Oh, no, it's true then.
Probably true. But we should bring this up. Well, we are kind of trolling on the Ravens. Kind of a sad day for them too, man. I'll tell you what, the NFL, listen, some guys. You got Tony Saragusa, who just passed away at 55 years of age. That was just announced just a few hours ago. And then also this morning, defensive end of the Baltimore Ravens, Jalen Ferguson, passes away, age 26. So, our thoughts certainly go out even for the competition, everything like that. I mean, it's hard. You got teammates.
That's nuts. That's crazy.
You got teammates
in one day.
Linked.
I mean, that's absolutely terrible. Tony Saragusa, Pitt legend, and Ferguson with the whole career in front of him. I think the Ravens were rather excited to see what he had. And I mean, aside from that, football is one thing, but he had a whole life in front of him. I think he was 24.
26, yeah, but still, like, not that matters that much. 24, 26, yes. Geez.
26 and 55, that's both young to pass away. So that is terrible. You hate seeing that.
Yeah, I know. And I just had to pull that out and pull that in. Told you, we got news. Some of it good, some of it bad. It kind of goes with the territory. But yeah, that was kind of a rough one to see this morning too. And yeah, Tony Saragusa was last doing some broadcasting or maybe sideline reporting with Fox Sports. I believe he was one of the sideline reporters when we saw him around. So had a heck of a career, and rest in peace to both of those gentlemen. It's tough to segue beyond that. You know what I mean? I was talking about special teamers. We're talking about Derek Watt. We're talking about Boswell. Maybe getting the bag next. We're talking about how Minkah is totally worth it. I don't know if there's any much more to elaborate on it, but can you imagine a Steelers defense that doesn't have Minkah Fitzpatrick on it? And like you were saying, he cuts off an entire, wherever he's at on the field. They're not going to dare put it in his area because he has, dare I say, like those Troy Polamalu-esque type of X factor where this guy is going to get his hands on the football. And then even if he doesn't, he gets his fingertips on it. It's going to cause some problems, as we saw Terrell Edmonds got a pick last year on Joe Burrow. Wish that could have turned out a little bit more there, but geez, I mean, he's just the guy just has a tendency to be wherever he needs to be, and making him long-term player with the Steelers is just kind of a no-brainer. I still can't see how anybody says, move on. You just don't find anybody anywhere they could just put on those cleats and replace them in the same way. If you're complaining about Edmonds and then also complaining about signing, or of the guys you let go, you know what I mean? It just drives me crazy. So it seems like Steelers, as we were talking about, we're filling some different holes, maybe looking at some different areas. Myself and Brian kind of covered the defensive line and whether it could still be impactful with the loss of Stephon Tuitt, whether they would add someone. I think we briefly mentioned it between you and I, even here on the air. I know we were talking in the back rooms. Larry Ogunjobi now.
Larry O
with his
the big dog.
Third of 4 AFC North teams, the aforementioned Ravens being the only one he has not yet played with, though he still hasn't put on a Steelers jersey technically, but he's already put the pen to paper. And 1-year deal for a guy, well, I won't steal your thunder. He had a deal with the Bears in place, and what all happened there? That was a pretty lucrative one.
Oh, yeah, dude, you can't steal thunder from the Flash. That has to be some kind of bad juju, man. You don't want to do that now. Don't worry. Now, I'm very excited over the addition of Larry Ogunjobi. Allow me to say, let me call him Larry Ogunjobi as we discuss him on this podcast, right? No, dude, you need a cricket kind of sound effect for that one. I thought that was going to land, but I thought about it on my way home from work today. I thought that was going to really get you, but
One
whatever.
of these days, I'm gonna have to add beeps and boops and bleeps, especially you're even worse. Most people don't realize, and I know people have said this before in the past, but YouTube has like the filters, and you say whether you're friendly to this, that, or the other thing, so you don't get tagged parental advisory wise. But myself and Brian are like, son of a truck driver, maybe son of a sailor or something like that. We swear like both of them, maybe combined. Maybe they made it and made like this super like history of swear words, Nick Cage version. That would be the way we talk outside of this. You don't have quite the same filter sometimes,
Nope.
so I gotta watch. But anyways, Larry O signed with the Bears. It was for some simoleons there, and you were saying.
Yeah, he signed with the Bears for a $50 million contract. Now, that was the headline number, the number that was released on Twitter and on ESPN and TV. So I don't know how much of it was guaranteed or what it was spread out over, but this guy just signed a $50 million contract to go to the Bears that fell through because of a failed physical. Now, I'll stop there because there are some people that are already concerned and worried and upset that the Steelers made this move because they think the guy's never going to play or be on the bench constantly with injuries. A guy can fail a physical and be way better, like night and day better, a month later. Very possible he just wasn't healed up from his most recent injury. It's possible he wasn't in the type of shape they wanted him to be in. I don't really know, but the important thing is that was what he was valued at just a month ago. Like days ago, this guy signed a $50 million contract. We signed him for 1 year. I mean, I can't imagine. I said on Twitter, I think it's going to be like a 1 year, $3.5 million deal with some more incentives. I don't see it getting much higher than about, 10 would kind of surprise me. So I think it'll be under 10 million for a 1 year deal. And to get a guy of that level at his age and with the level of talent he's displayed thus far and kind of peaking right now with his best season being most recently, it's a real steal to consider we're going to be getting him on this cheap contract. And I don't know how long he's going to be here for, but he'll at least be here this year. He may very well be using the Steelers as a springboard to get back in free agency. Who knows? But the important thing is he's here now, and I think he's going to be a great addition to the defensive line, considering, the loss of Tuitt, obviously. But I agree with you and Brian about, we didn't need defensive line depth added to this team. But, I don't need a lot of things. I don't need all the gifts I get on Christmas. I don't need, extra Chipotle, double meat, but I still want it. And it still makes the experience better,
Hold on, and let's stop right there for a second. You betrayed DoorDash for Grubhub. And I didn't really betray DoorDash, but I went with Grubhub too. While I was on vacation, I was just too lazy to drive out in what is just stupid traffic in Orlando.
Pick up a pizza. The drivers in Florida are crazy, dude, for sure. I use Grubhub because they had free trial membership, like no delivery for a month. So I was just doing it for a month, and I'm not going to do the trial or the premium.
His plan is out there, folks. But he gets the extra nuggets. He does this and that. Yeah, of course. But Larry, well, let's put this out here. Hold on a second. Our favorite guy. I had told you I had a tweet from him. Andrew Filippone. I love to bring him up. We were talking about how bad some of the Pittsburgh media is. Mark Madden was running his mouth about something too. Steelers should sign Ndamukong Suh instead of Larry Ogunjobi. He doesn't have a foot injury that caused the team to void a $50 million contract. Is he aware of one technique, 3 technique, 5 technique?
No, yeah, I mean you're right, dude. And I had to come around this myself. Suh isn't really the best fit for the team. He was just the biggest name brand. And Ogunjobi's a way better fit for what the Steelers want to do defensively than Ndamukong Suh. And I love my CBS sports list. Like, you want me to think something's truth or gospel? Show me a CBS sports list. And their remaining top 10 free agents. Ogunjobi was 7. Suh was nowhere to be found. Joe Hayden was 10, and OBJ was 3, just for reference for the people. So Ogunjobi was viewed as a top 10 free agent left, and the Steelers just signed him for what is likely pennies.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and he's just a ripped jack dude. But here's the other thing, and we got that. We actually have a video of him working out. If I could throw it in here. This was actually from 2020. I believe during the offseason. He said he's kneeling on a balance ball and just swinging the ropes like a madman. It's just unbelievable. He's just chiseled everywhere, and this guy's a defensive
Dude, that is
tackle.
insane. That is insane, dude. I mean, like, yeah, like you're saying, it's like, I mean, this. I
He's a
hate that people always use this, but it's like Aaron Donald-esque, the amount of muscle ratio he's got going on there. His back is like a V.
Yeah, it really is a V, like Arnold Schwarzenegger-esque
There you go.
V. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if I think of anybody that has a V, because Arnold's legs just weren't there. I'm sorry, and
He skipped leg day.
yeah, he did. I think to some degree. I mean, he had it, but the dude was just all upper body. He looked like a transformer or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Ogunjobi, I mean, when you're looking at that, 6'3", 305 is what he was last listed at, or is what I have here. And he's 28 years old, and Ndamukong Suh is 35. Turned 35 in January. Ogunjobi just turned 28 like 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah,
So,
and if you're a stat watcher, like a big name watcher, like people are, Sue had 6 sacks last year, and Ogunjobi either had 7 or 8, depending on what website you look at. Pro Football Focus has him for 8. So, I mean, that goes back to they probably gave TJ Watt 4 last year. So, I'm assuming he has 7, but that's still one more than Sue did. So, if you're a big name guy, typically you're also a stat watcher, and he had more sacks than Sue last year. So, there you go.
yeah, and I am stat watching to a certain degree, but I don't need whoever. So let's talk about his role. Most people are like, okay, he's here to fill in for Stephon Tuitt. Stephon Tuitt, when he last played, he didn't play last year. He had double-digit sacks for the first time in his career, but typically double-digit sacks was not a Stephon Tuitt special. And I'm trying to pick up what Chris Wormley had last year, because that's probably the best comp here. That's who he's going to be competing with for any type of playing time. You had some statistics, I think, on snap shares for what he did with the Bengals. And it was kind of odd to me. The biggest thing I said about Ogunjobi was I was like, okay, wait a second. Well, the Bengals didn't bring him back. They brought everybody else back. And I know there's a lot of people in Cincinnati that they're bitching about it. They're not happy, especially going to the Steelers. And they felt that he was a disruptive force last year. His numbers across the board, somebody had pulled those up somewhere as well. They had him on par or superseding that of BJ Hill. So that was pretty eye-opening as well. I was always kind of curious why Cleveland never kept him as well. And they have money to throw around. I always thought that was a strange flex there. And, Sheldon Richardson's still sitting around there. And you had another guy that was there in Cleveland at one time, sitting around in free agency. But when you're looking at somebody that's probably going to be the best fit, somebody says, oh, well, how's he going to play they're not playing a 3-4 defense. That's number one. In most cases, you're probably lining up Cam. If it would have been Stephon, okay, Chris Wormley, they're not going over the gap to either side of the center. In most cases, they're attacking a guard, maybe. So they're not traditional one technique. They're not going to line up over the nose of the football. They got Tyson Alualu for that. We'll see if Montravius Adams sticks to the roster. He had a pretty minimal deal when they re-signed him. He might be one of the guys that's in danger. Chris Wormley has also flirted with nose tackle as well. Even Alualu cycles in and plays like a type of like a defensive tackle, defensive end. It's really a hybrid. They just have the two guys up front. They're not playing with a nose tackle. It's why I roll my eyes when everybody's like, oh, they need to draft the next Casey Hampton. I'm like, well, not only was Casey Hampton aging, his position was becoming extinct. He was a dinosaur in the NFL toward the end of his career. We're talking, 2012 or whatever, where the 3-4 defense just because you have an extra defensive back on the field. So where do you pull that player? You're pulling a linebacker or you're pulling a defensive lineman, and usually it's the nose tackle. So he's going to fit in just fine there. It's just a matter of, does he have to play 100% of the time? No, you've got a veteran guy that if he is healthy, now let's talk about that. Health. He hadn't missed many games before, right? Let's see.
He started every game since after his rookie year. His rookie year, he only started one game, but since his rookie year, he started every game since for the Browns and Bengals.
Yeah, and it's listed I think 16, 15, 15, 16, so maybe he was sat out of one. Maybe one of these was COVID protocol going back to 2020, so that's a possibility as well. And, and not just sacks, but, he's in the 50-ish range for combined tackles. 7 sacks was good last year. He only had 2.5 the previous year with Cleveland, but had 5.5 in each of those other seasons after becoming a starter after being a rookie. No, Pro Bowls or all pros, accolades or anything like that. But the Chicago Bears were willing to give this guy $50 million. And then all of a sudden somebody changed their mind. And in the NFL, what you don't understand is that the doctors or quacks or whatever you want to call them that are in those training rooms and performing these physicals, they could fail you if they see, well, he's got a discolored toenail. It could
Yeah.
be literally any reason. They don't have to disclose it. They will not disclose it. So we really don't know. Maybe somebody just changed their mind. Maybe there was something that went on there that we don't know the story to behind, closed doors. And they're like, okay, we're not going to deal with this guy. Now, obviously, he was still sitting out there, and the Bengals didn't re-sign him. And it was one of the reasons why when his name came up as one of the ones that were available, I'm thinking to myself, I don't know. Maybe. I'm like, but why is he sitting there? You know what I mean? And it was one of those things like, okay, I'm not going to pay this guy like a boatload of cash. And it's going to end up being something like Melvin Ingram, where I'm tepid, but I'm still happy about the addition. Because I realize they're not going to have to lean everything on him to be the starter. Now, he could come in and still warmly spot very easily. But we'd be fooling ourselves if we were saying, like, that we want to repeat of what happened last year. So adding depth to this, the Steelers obviously saw that there was somewhere where they needed to add depth. I thought they could maybe get by with what they already have, but you still have relatively inexperienced Chris Wormley, got a year under his belt now as a starter. Isaiah Loudermilk doesn't have a whole lot of time. DeMarvin Leal does not have a whole lot of time. 35-year-old Tyson Alualu could be a health factor or risk. What if he doesn't come back the way that he needs to be? And then you're sitting there, you're scratching your butt. Like, now what do you do when it's like training camp and let's say Alualu, just like a Zach Banner situation, you don't have anybody to fill in there. So bringing Ogunjobi in on the 1 year kind of prove it deal. If he really does prove it, the Steelers have been known to pay those horses up front. So he'll get a bag of money too. There's no doubt about it. If he ends up, we'll see what pans out here. Like I'm not down and I'm not super up or high on it either way. I think it's a good fit for the team. And I think it's a smart move made by Omar Khan.
Yeah. Great move for sure. I mean, I'm through the roof over the signing, and that's typical of our dynamic here that I'm way too excited usually, and you're a little even more even tempered. You're more seasoned, you're a little older than me, but I was very excited. I am open and very honest, and I can admit that I wanted Sue, and then I quickly changed course as soon as we got Ogunjobi. I'm the number one Ogunjobi fan in my house. I know that for a fact. And the whole not playing every snap thing, yeah, it works out actually kind of perfect because I think I think the Steelers signed him with the intent for him to win the starting job week 1, but that doesn't mean Wormley is just going to be cast off, as some unloved stepchild. I think he's going to get a lot of reps still because Ogunjobi, the past year in Cincinnati, he only played 68% of the snaps for them. And the year prior to that, he played 63. So he's not a every down player, and the most he ever played for a team snap count wise was 2018 with the Browns when he was still there. He played 79%. Now, as a defensive lineman, it's easy to understand and obvious that he just got taken out frequently for different packages. So if they were putting in dime or any package basically that had more defensive backs, defensive linemen or linebackers got to come out. So he was brought out for that reason, but I'm sure he was also brought out to keep him fresh and keep him in a rotation and help maximize his energy and his skill set, basically. So I think he'll start more likely than not, but you'll see Wormley plenty in particular as the immediate backup behind him / he could still win the job, but he'll play a lot. The beauty of Wormley and Ogunjobi is they could spell not only whoever isn't starting between the two, but also Cam Hayward. So when he needs a break, whoever's not starting between them can go in. Tyson, I agree. I love Tyson, but I was as shocked as anybody that we lost him for the season last year. So health is definitely a factor. I'm phenomenal. I'm over the moon again, happy, excited that he is healthy. I almost said I'm phenomenally excited because that's how excited I am that Tyson's back and we have him in the fold. But he is coming off a big surgery, season ending. So who knows how he's going to perform or hold up. And he is older. And behind Cam and the uncertainty of Tyson's health, and then, Wormley being solid, the depth was mainly potential and young budding players that the Steelers had hopes for. So if anything, the move is going to help solidify depth, And at most, it's going to help, I think, have them acquire a new starter for the defensive line, which is the highest hope that he'll be the starter. And the physical, man, I think it's most realistic of the reasoning I came to in my head that I think he was flagged or dropped from the Bears deal because he most likely, I think, had a surgery or something done where he wasn't fully healed up yet for the Bears. And even though I'm sure he told them or had his agent tell them that he'd be ready soon, soon wasn't good enough for the Bears because the Steelers, they wouldn't pass a guy on a physical if they couldn't. You know, if he doesn't stay healthy for the year from this point, that doesn't have anything to do with physical as long as he passed it, you know?
They passed Ladarius Green.
Yeah, they passed Ladarius Green, but then he was immediately taken out for his concussion worries, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, they signed him with
ankle,
that red
supposedly.
flag, you know? Ogunjobi hasn't been given this red flag designation of, yeah, they'll sign him, but he also has this injury right now that you have to wait for him to recover from, or he's prone to this. You know, Ladarius signed that deal. We signed him to that deal, and it was like instantaneous. He was on the concussion list. So I think Ladarius is a bit of an asterisk in that department, but I get it. That's a good point.
I hate faulting anyone because of injury. I know everybody wants to say, "Oh, such a bad signing." It's like, how can you be so sure? I mean,
He was good when he was in there.
Yeah, he had a huge game. I think it was against the Giants. I remember like 10 catches. I put him in on like my DraftKings on that particular week. And everybody's like, "No way, you had him,
brother."
Yeah, they tried to give him I think he had a TD too, and I think they tried to get him like a 2-point conversion, or he may have gotten a 2-point conversion. He had a monster week, and then never really to be heard of or from ever again, because the greatest ability is availability, as we like to say, and it was a rough year not being able to count on him. They always had to fall back on the outlaw Jesse James there, and a couple different things. Is that the year that Jesse caught it too? I believe it was.
If not, it's either that one or the year prior, I think. Probably spot on there.
I'm pulling this up real quick because
he's probably hurt for that game, hence why Jesse was in there. No offense to him.
Yeah, I'm looking. Let's see. No, I think Vance McDonald was already on board here in 2017. So that must have been just
2016.
Just before that. I was gonna say, I was like, another thing you could dump on Ladarius Green, but we can't do that. Actually, we can, because if he was healthy to begin with, he signed like a 4-year deal. So he should have been on the roster still. But then they made that trade for Vance McDonald instead. Oh, geez.
Then we wouldn't have moved.
It comes around, but it just goes to show you like how players can be like generational or one of a kind, and how you just can't replace them right away. So for don't sign Minkah or give him a big deal crowd, it's like, give him like a big.
I know, dude. How soon you forget the Will Allen days, and I loved him. I thought his attitude was awesome. But the Mike Mitchell days, Shamarko Thomas, dude. Yes, like that wasn't a good time for us, man. And I have a big brain theory that I really think if you have an elite safety, it is like a key cheat code piece to a Super Bowl defense. Because I'm challenging the listeners right now and yourself, think of any elite Hall of Fame, or not even Hall of Fame yet, safety, the best of all time. They all have Super Bowl rings because they change defenses. When you have a guy with that skill set to be a ball hawk and a sure tackler, and he's super smart and you can move him around, they are what's what I'm looking for? Unpriceable. You priceless. Like they could be the MVP of the defense if you have them in a scheme in which they can thrive. And I mean, I thought about this a lot, and you really can't think of anyone besides like Brian Dawkins, who was in 4 consecutive championship games. All the elite safeties have a ring, or at least were in the Super Bowl competing for one.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I always hate the folks that have got to do the Ed Reed versus Troy Polamalu comparisons. Like they play 2 different roles, 2 different types of positions. Like seriously, like you can't compare them to.
No, dude. And I said this on Twitter, but it's beautiful irony that Minkah's actually, the Steelers, air quotes here, because I'm not calling him this, but the Steelers' next Polamalu is more Ed Reed than Troy from a skill standpoint, because Minkah's a free, like, Ed Reed was a strong safety, but their styles were very different. Ed Reed was a center fielder, ball hawk, get the ball in his hands kind of playmaker. Troy was, I can't even describe Troy. Just one of the best, smartest safeties of all time. Splash plays, sure tackles, everything. Everyone saw he's an incredible safety, but Minkah's play style is closer to Ed Reed's, which is just like beautiful irony.
I pulled up Ladarius Green stats. That was the New York Giants. 11 targets, 6 catches, 110 yards, and a touchdown. So I was close on that. It wasn't 10 catches, but it was 11 targets.
Yeah. What could have been, man?
There. 2016, man. But he was a free agent from the free agent actual pool. This wasn't like a June, July signing like Ogunjobi. When you're adding here, you're hopefully filling in to depth. And we don't think that the Steelers are necessarily done just yet. And there's one position. I don't know if you're thinking what I'm thinking.
I'm thinking what you're thinking. You texted me before this.
Oh, I did? I wasn't
sure.
Yeah. Okay. But got to get and it's not to say that I wouldn't want to roll with him necessarily by himself. We've already mentioned this. Benny Snell being the backup to Najee Harris. But if it's just Najee by himself and he's a bell cow, we know how that's gone. They got to find the next D'Angelo Williams. And D'Angelo Williams, he came around like at age 31. And he had been splitting carries and with the Carolina Panthers and Jonathan Stewart back then. They got to find another guy like that. And I'm trying to peruse the available free agents to see what kind of move the Steelers might make. It's very odd for them to not have a veteran running back. I mean, if you think about it, Harris is only entering year 2. There's nobody else on the roster there. There's not like I know they added him a little later too, but like Felix Jones, Niall Davis, who didn't make the team, but he was there, or Wendell Smallwood, or they got guys that maybe didn't make the team or were practice waters or something like that. Of course, D'Angelo Williams, but just like nobody, even going back to
Jordan Bodman.
Well, he had, you know what? He was a journeyman. He had been around like Kalen Ballage or anybody like that. It's like
Ben Tate.
No. Hold on a second. You get the kibosh on that one. That's Ben Tate is right up there with Josh Scobie is like my least liked Steelers ever. And I don't like I said, I don't dump on a ton of people here. Look, I was just defending and saying some good things about Ladarius Green.
Yeah.
All right. Josh Scobie is like the equivalent of the Peanuts cartoon where Charlie Brown misses the football because Lucy pulls it like right out from under him.
Oh, no, he was probably throwing games, dude. He was probably getting paid to do that. It was comical how bad it was with Josh Scobie. That was the beginning of the end. Well, it got us Boz eventually, but that was the beginning of the dark days of kicking. Now anytime Boz misses one, I have flashbacks. But
and how does Boz just fall in your lap and be like a guy that's on trajectory to be one of the best ever for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and maybe
one of those where were you moments in history? I remember seeing the tweet that we brought him in for a workout, and I was like, thank God, someone else. And I'm at Rice kicker Chris Boswell from the Texans. I can see it right now, photographic memory, because he was on the Texans the year before for something. And we scooped in, and he's like, literally, you could argue he's the best kicker in the NFL. You'll get an argument back, but he's unarguably top 5.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I you know what? Now that you brought that up, Texans 2014. I almost want to say, let's see if I could find this.
He might have just been in camp. I don't know. But they mentioned that in a tweet.
Yeah, off-season practice squad member. I'm trying to see if Boswell actually did more than a cup of coffee with the Texans. So bear with me 1 second as I pulled up the stats. Yeah, okay, 2015. Let's see. Because I want to say, it helps when you type and then like it starts to auto type like on the screen and then like fills in the wrong name because you typed it wrong, but it's like 5 seconds behind you. Yeah. Another legend. Well, actually he wasn't there. Never mind. He was already gone too. I'm trying to think who the heck the kicker was for the Houston Texans.
Care Bear?
Back when Boz was who'd they keep instead? 2014. Oh, let's see. We're finding out here in about 2 seconds.
They had Chris Brown for a while.
Oh, they had Randy Bullock.
Oh, wow. Stars align. That's crazy.
Another Steelers legend. Yes. came in, had a cup of coffee, got the game ball that one week. When
Oh yeah,
Boswell
he was sick.
hurt.
Big success story, man. Isn't he still the Bengals coach? No, he's not the Bengals.
No, they got that clown that was sitting on the bench at halftime watching the halftime show during the Super Bowl instead of being
McPherson.
Yeah. That's just hilarious.
What a move. That would have been me.
Yeah, that's a crazy thing too, is that they kept him, and Bullock, that is, and then Bullock didn't end up staying after that. 2015, he ended up with the Jets after the Texans released him. Then he was on 3 different teams between the Steelers, Bengals, and New York Giants back in 2016. Hung around with the Bengals for the next 4 years. I always thought Swisham was a very steady guy, but I never felt that he had power. I was thinking about this. This is odd how this comes around now. Full circle. I was thinking about this. I don't know if I was sitting on my flight, whatever it was, waiting out in the terminal, and I was like, you know what? I was raised on. Here's a name for you, Jeff Wilkins. Okay, Youngstown State legend during the Jim Tressel era of 6 national title games, 4 of those with championships, and when you had to hang your hat on a pro football player, well, this was a guy that sound like Chris Collinsworth now. Here's a guy. Well, he tried to break in the league about 1994, right? Played a year with the Eagles, played a couple years with the 49ers, and then was with the Rams for the rest of his career for 11 years. Got a ring with Kurt Warner. Yeah, greatest show on turf. Leading scorer in the NFL, I believe. 64 extra points made one season. But this is why I was spoiled. When I'd watch Swisham, I'm like, I'm just expecting someone. I understand college is different. You got different distances and that. You're kicking off a tee for kickoff too. But Wilkins in college would put this thing through the uprights on kickoffs. He would hit the net with like such consistency. And I just thought, like 10-year-old me watching this, 11 years old. I got a picture of him. Actually in college, they used to do media days, and my uncle was like really big, and he took me there. And I'll never forget, there was an academic All-American that played tight end there, and his name was John Quintana. This is something. This is like one of these Gil Brandt type stories you would hear late at night on XM radio, right? And I must be like 10 or 11, and he's telling Jeff Wilkins, he's taking a picture with me. This is film cameras, dude. We don't have smartphones. We don't have digital cameras.
Yeah,
he's like,
snap.
Yeah, like put your arm around the kid or whatever, and it's like it looks like the most
dust in the cloak over top.
Well, that's exactly what it was like, because it was like you're kind of expressionless trying to hold whatever pose there, and he's like an awkward college kid that's probably maybe 20, 22 years age, just started drinking beer a couple years ago.
What do I do with my hands? Do I point at him? Do I make a thumbs up, peace sign? I don't know.
Yeah, if you're out there, and there's actually a podcast colleague of ours that does a Rams show somewhere out there. It's also a Youngstown State alum, believe it or not. And I've been a guest on his show. Usually in the summer, he does like previews and stuff like that. So I'll have to see if he's ever running any circles with Jeff Wilkins, or if anyone else has. Send him our way. I'd love to it's non-Steelers, but it's got to have some stories, especially, St. Louis Rams, no longer like the LA Rams or whatever. But yeah, that's just the way I always thought that it was. So to see Boswell put it pretty much put it into the white paint at the end, back at the end zone, is encouraging, because I was always like, man, Swisham always feels like he's going to kick his leg out from his leg, even though he was great.
He was more of a finesse kicker, absolutely. And if you're going to ask
Bullock, that's what I was getting my point at, was like Bullock didn't have the same kind of power into those kicks either.
No, if you're going to line 2 dudes up for my football team, and the one's like super accurate, but he doesn't have good range, and the other guy's got a cannon strapped to his hip, and he's can boom from 60, but it's going to be like a, lucky or not 50-50 kind of deal. Give me the leg every time. Yeah. I'll take that risk, because it's a kickoff weapon, and it's a distance weapon for field goals, and it's more fun. So I'll always take the big leg over the accuracy. That's why I love Josh Allen.
Which one? Because they just clickbaited something on one of those lists. Did you see that? Yeah. It was like, it wasn't the class he came out of. Was that 17 or 18 with Rudolph? It was like the next year, 19 or whatever. It was the other Josh Allen. And everybody's like, how can they not have him ranked higher? And we're like, we're talking about the dude from the Jaguars.
Yeah, that joke's not getting old or anything.
It's the wrong guy. The wrong guy. You find him on Twitter, and I'm going to start shouting at him like they get the people with what was that, Chris Carter? Then that happened.
Yeah, Christopher Carter gets yelled all the time for Chris Carter's
from the Vikings
on TV.
Yeah, that's hilarious. So dovetailed, even though we think Boswell, yeah, he should be next in line, there's still a position somewhere else that we were meaning to jump over to, and we got into a whole kicker thing. By the way, Jeff Reed, also kind of more of a finesse guy. So it's interesting when Mike Tomlin trots Boswell out there, and it's like, hey, 54 yards out, 55 yards out, no problem. Tomlin's got like the, cojones they stick in the wheelbarrow like the South Park meme. And he's just driving around like on the sideline with it, holding it in the barrel.
Yeah, he doesn't live in his fears.
No, well, sometimes he does. I hate to say that.
I know. Watch the comments go crazy because I said that.
Oh yeah, there was a 4th down call last year that was driving me crazy. I'm trying to remember which game that was.
Yeah, but you know what I'm loving is that Pivot podcast going around. Everybody's paying their respects to Tomlin right now because of the interview he gave on the Pivot podcast with Ryan Clark or whatever. He gave like a really good answer about like how a good coach will try and coach a guy instead of like there's some coaches who will hear that sounded so stupid, but there are some coaches who will hear a guy has like hand usage problems or he can't do this well, but he does this well. And coaches will run away from those guys, not wanting to help them, get that area of their game fixed. Tomlin did some, elaborate, speech about how he runs towards those challenges. And you got every, big head in the NFL blowing it up, eating it up, retweeting it, talking about Mike Tomlin's awesome this, Mike Tomlin's awesome that. And I'm always in the comments like, yeah, you would think it's perceived that way here, but no, it's a pretty dead 50-50 split of smart Steeler fans and not. And if you're smart, Tomlin's a good coach. And if you're not, you think he's not.
Yeah, well, for the first time ever, I think they actually heard the phrase, paint the barn red. You know what I mean?
They love that shit too. They'll hear all his stuff like months later, and they're like, "Oh, this is so great." I'm like, "Yeah, we have it on shirts here already."
That's so true. He also said, "What was the direct quote about Antonio Brown? Y'all know that ain't gonna happen." Or something like, "Y'all know that ain't happening."
He gave like a nice like synopsis, a good paragraph before then, giving him his respects and being nice to Antonio, and being a man about it, being nice. And then he said, that last part, y'all know that ain't happening, like bringing him back here. But of course, all the, websites blew that up as like he was, trying to stir the pot. But he was very respectful and nice to AB, all things considered.
Yeah, I'm looking at this right now. That ain't happening. It's like in quotes, y'all know that ain't happening. Mike Tomlin. Oh, somebody else. This was Mike over at Yins Are Crazy. Mike Tomlin brought in Brian Flores. He won't be doing the same with the Antonio Brown. It's like, hey, you think that's like fool me once, as the saying goes. But, anyways, running back. Did the Steelers?
Oh yeah.
Are they going to go into camp with Benny Snell? We went through like all these other names, all but Deuce Staley, pretty much at this point. And yeah. I was looking at some names. Let me see. I got to pull it back up now. Let's see.
Le'Veon's only 30 years old right now. I know he's not doing nothing.
Y'all know they ain't happening.
Oh, nice. Yeah, call back. Okay, that's good podcasting, folks. Like and subscribe.
Yes. Do that. Review. Rate it 5 stars. They give you 6. Do it 6. So Tariq Cohen's at the top of this list. He's hurt.
Yeah.
There was a name that I was kind of interested in. Now, he's 30 years old, but I already brought up that might not matter if he's in a reserve role and he's still got some football left in him. Oh, I know what got me on this whole thing. You got me talking about Josh Scobie and Ben Tate. Ben Tate. You know what? Brian does not like Neil, what's his name, from the Super Bowl 30 and all his interceptions being named. He who shall not be named. If there's another one, it's Ben Tate. I have never been, and it's the other jagoff that was his backup. What's his name? Josh whatever, that tried to say like all these disparaging things about Ben Roethlisberger as a leader and only was a practice squad running back. He got he doesn't even deserve to have his full name mentioned. That's why I can't remember. He had like 2 carries. He was no better. They had to put Tate back out there so he could fumble again. And that Ravens playoff loss, what was that, 2014 or something like that? I was so irritated. It's one of the last. Well, I mean, they played at home, but that team. Another team that I thought was very, very good. And when you talk about there's people that are out there that are just ragging on the Steelers. They're besmirching the Steelers. There you go. There's an old colloquialism. That's probably not even how you say it, but there's besmirching the Steelers. They're a 6-win team. They couldn't get it done with Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell and Ben Roethlisberger. What makes you think they're going to do it with this? And it's like, well, yeah, at the same time, we mentioned some of the legends out there that, that weren't legends, like John Bostic or LJ Ford or whoever they had playing for Ryan Shazier the one year. So, Ben Tate, they didn't have Bell in the playoffs. That's what the whole problem was. Ben Tate I know Mendenhall made some headlines this week too, saying something like it was the equivalent of a strip sack or something. Like he got separated from the football. He did not fumble the football. It's like, oh my goodness, dude, you're stretching. You need an extra. You can't get a full 15 minutes. We might give you 3.
It's like the I'm not fired, I quit. That's what Mendenhall said. I didn't fumble. I got separated from the ball. So I saw that. I just ignore Mendenhall at this point. Every couple of months he'll tweet something random on Twitter talking about how he's disrespected or hated, and it's like, yeah, dude. I mean, hate's a strong word, but you fumbled the Super Bowl. Granted, that's not the only reason we lost, but these are the lumps you take. You had your time in the NFL and you went out on a low note. Sorry about it. Move on. Like you say you have.
Yeah, no kidding. So anyways, David Johnson, Northern Iowa superstar, had some good years with the Arizona Cardinals, and
I would take David Johnson.
And yes, I would too. Almost in a heartbeat. This guy, he puts up some pretty solid statistics. I know just of recent, he hasn't had the best of luck with health, but he's caught 30 some odd passes, in the average of 3. He had one year, his best year is a Pro Bowl year, 80 receptions, 879 yards. He had 4 receiving touchdowns. That was on top of 1,239 rushing yards and 16 touchdowns. He's never been able to duplicate that success again on the football field, but he was, I still think, he's, what, is he 30 or 31? He's 30. His birthday's in 30. December.
Just like Le'Veon.
And I know 30 is like where you're hitting the wall. Le'Veon, I don't see it. I mean, Andy,
of course not, dude. No, I'm playing with Le'Veon.
Andy Reid. I mean, if he wasn't getting any PT with Andy Reid, and then you had the Ravens, who lost every single running back they had on their roster last year, and this guy,
he was even on there.
He couldn't get play. He was hardly playing over Tyson Williams, no longer with them. And
it's over for Le'Veon, dude. He's always got a place in my heart. One of the coolest names ever. I just love saying Le'Veon.
I don't really even care to say it anymore. And, I had nothing against him while he was there. Hey, he went to go try and make his money. We all told him he was going to be a fool. A lot of people said, don't give him the money. Running backs aren't durable, 30-some years of age. But I'm looking at it from the D'Angelo Williams veteran standpoint with David Johnson. I think he's one of the better players that are available. I know the Saints were sniffing around, and they've got plenty of people that are there, but they're looking for somebody who could duplicate Alvin Kamara's skill set, and I think duplicating Najee Harris's skill set would be important here as well. Jalen Richard is available here. I don't think so. By the way, I'm reading these off a Spot Track right now, so I hope I've got all of these as far as health and availability correct. So I'm kind of at their mercy right here. Devontae Booker, but he's also 30 years old and he ain't done anything ever. I'd much rather take the risk of trotting David Johnson out there. That the worst case scenario, David Johnson gets hurt, Benny Snell is your next guy off the bench. Because I don't think they cut Benny Snell outright. It would be Anthony McFarland, who hasn't really shown that he could stick to the roster, perhaps. Carlos Hyde is 31. He seems like kind of just.
I'll pass on Hyde. I'll pass on Carlos Hyde. I like McKinnon. He's 30 and he had success against us in the playoff game. So he might be on the radar a little bit. I don't know. But McKinnon's also 30, and he did really well against us in the playoff game for the Chiefs. So maybe that's a name they're monitoring, possibly.
I thought that I thought McKinnon got re-signed, actually. See here. We'll look him up real quick. It's re-signed a 1-year contract. Yeah. Oh, he re-signed. He did re-sign.
Okay.
Last week.
Oh, all right.
That's why.
Well,
that's why.
That
No, that's not. No. How can you keep up all the time? You were busy.
Yeah.
You were there in Mickey Mouse land, just like I was. So you can't.
Oh yeah.
You're not gonna catch Jerick McKinnon coming across your radar, because why should you? He was he's always been good when he's healthy. That's one of those guys that's just kind of like, dude, what's up with you? Like, it's just it's heartbreaking. You saw him actually do well with the Chiefs. You just never know that he's ever going to get an opportunity to do that again. Carlos Hyde, even though I'm an Ohio State guy, it's amazing that he's had this long of a career in the NFL. He's just never seemed to have maybe the same attributes physically.
I agree, man. I don't get it.
Yeah.
When the Jaguars gave him a decent deal, I was like, for what? Like, just because his name, like from college. Like I've never really been to.
Urban Meyer.
Oh yeah, I guess.
Yeah,
there
he tried
you go.
out Tim
There's the link.
Tebow at tight end. I mean,
Yeah. The, going with the theme though of Steelers liking to try to coerce guys to come on over who have done well against them. Alex Collins, I hate that asshole because he would tear us up on the ground for the Ravens, and I'm pretty sure the
Seattle
Seahawks too.
Yeah. 27. I have him
He's out
listed
there.
at 27. I'm not against that. Like I don't know. I'm not like some of the names that are here. Okay. Latavius Murray, he's been around, 32 years of age. Malcolm Brown, kind of career backup. Peyton Barber, kind of career backup. Devontae Freeman, really, like, I know he was playing with a bad line with the Giants and even, like, didn't really do much with the Ravens last year. Corey Clement, Wayne Gallman, Kalen Ballage, if that name's they're all kind of sitting out there. Jeremy McNichols, like, and then you get into just a whole lot of these guys, and then even have a trading card. And then there's Le'Veon Bell at the very bottom of the list. And like you said, Le'Veon's 30, but I'm not looking for a reunion. I don't think they want to introduce problems that they've already kind of moved on from anyway. So, but I do think that Omar Khan will be looking. Maybe they'll be looking at the end of the preseason training camps. Players get cut. We're all, the interesting situation to look at is who they got on their preseason schedule, right? Is it Seattle? And then
you always play Carolina, I want to say, like always.
Well,
Maybe
yeah, they
on.
always do, but I'm trying to think. I was trying to remember. There's only 3 now. It's Detroit is that third game this year. Kind of like the bus trip. But the Seahawks, the Sea Chickens. I'm going to see real quick. My quick bat thinking here, because I'm all on the Batman trend here.
I know they got a rookie running back they're excited about, but I can't remember his name.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of looking at, and I want to say like Chris Carson has been he's been injured for quite some time. He has a history of not being durable or dependable. Rashad Penny turned on and then went back there last year, so I think they have like a kind of a loaded depth chart. And they don't have much else going on there as far as quarterback or anything else. And somebody's going to say, trade Rudolph. Oh, we should probably bring that up real quick, too. Rudolph and Ogunjobi are now teammates. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot going on there between the Mason calling him a bitch or whatever on the field from that Thursday night game way back when. But people are already making a deal of that. Rashad Penny.
No, of course, dude, man. The jokes write themselves. It's easy content and easy likes. I'm sure it doesn't freaking matter, like, at all, dude. Can't feel great, I'm sure, if you're Mason, but I also doubt that like it's going to be a big deal. I'm sure they're both 2 grown adults, so as soon as they see each other, they'll either just not mention it or like one will dap the other up, they'll hug, and it'll be a non-story. Like for all we know, it's already occurred because he did that whole onward and upward thing with Garrett, and maybe like Ogunjobi was like in the vicinity. I don't know. I didn't see him, but yeah, I'm not worried about that. It's just easy joke to make for people. Funny, kind of, depending on who you are, but
yeah, and I wouldn't say we were beneath having something at steelcityunderground.com today about that as well. So
no, yeah, hit that with the retweet.
Yeah. Let me see. I'm looking right now. So it's Rashad Penny, Kenneth Walker, Chris Carson, Seattle Seahawks. And then we've got, let's see, Jacksonville Jaguars have a little bit of a stable too. They have James Robinson, who really didn't want anything to do with last. And he's been solid.
I know, bro. I just got him in a dynasty league in like the 18th round. I was psyched.
They drafted Travis Etienne, 1 pick after Najee Harris, and then they just drafted Snoop Connor in the 5th round this year. And then the Detroit Lions, who ran all over the Steelers last year. Don't think if they didn't remember this. DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams, and they got that Godwin Igwebuike. And let me see. That kind of looks like that they have a 7th round. Well, so
that's the guy who with the long name. He's the guy who had the long run, right? That everybody chose the Devin Bush clip.
Street free agent type. So when you see like the Jordan Todman stuff like that to kind of bounce around, the Carolina Panthers deal, very much. They played, like you said, they usually play them every year in the preseason, and when teams used to have joint practices. This is how you identify maybe some other players. You get to be a little more intimately involved in watching them from the other side of the field. It's happened before with many
I'll tell you what, dude, if
others.
Jamal Williams on the lines is a cap casualty, I would love him to be an addition. He's a talented running back, good running back. The Lions stole him away from the Packers, but this is his second year in the system. He signed a decent contract, I think, with them, and it's not uncommon for a free agent after a year or two to get cut from his deal already just because the team has seen enough or like doesn't feel like he's like worth to pay him anymore, for lack of a better term. So put a pin in Jamal Williams for me, because if he gets cut, that'd be an addition I'd be excited about.
Yeah, and you know what else? We always talk about coming across from the division as we go to put a bow on this show. Cleveland Browns have quite a few running backs, and I know they just tagged or whatever Dearness Johnson, and he ended up signing in. He's like their third guy. They have Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, and they also just drafted in the 5th round Jerome Ford, Demetric Felton, and John Kelly. They've got like a lot of dudes there. So, not that all those players have seen time against the Steelers, but looking from enemy lines, that's one that could stick. I don't know if the Ravens have, I know the Bengals don't really have quite the same going on there with Mixon and Samjay Perine. It's just like, don't. And they drafted someone last year too. Didn't they draft a kid from Michigan, I think?
Chris Evans.
Yes.
I got him in Dynasty too.
Yeah.
Really late.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's like a pass catching back. Kind of like, James White light, I guess.
Yeah, and let me see. I may as well pull up the Ravens, and then that'll be about it. But it's like, where are you looking? There's probably players that they've scouted in the process,
For sure.
as well. But I'm just kind of like looking. Let's see.
Dearness Johnson would be nice, though. I agree with you there. If he got cut, I would welcome him with open arms. I like him.
Browns don't want to let him go. I mean, they just showed him the money to be like their third guy. That's pretty interesting stuff. You got the Ravens with J.K. Dobbins if he's back healthy, Gus Edwards if he's back healthy. Let me see. Mike Davis, Justice Hill. There's an interesting name as well. And they got a couple other guys. You know what I mean? Late round picks, college free agents, those type of rounded out the charts there. But it'll be interesting to look and see who might be a casualty from wherever else. I think the Seahawks is an interesting kind of look. Will they keep 2 backs? They might have to. Will they keep Chris Carson? Is Penny just an aberration? Did he just have like a couple of fluke games, or is he ready to be NFL ready? Because he's had a really slow start and they invested a lot in him up front. But also
Didn't
Kenneth
Penny
Walker.
have a long run against us too? Didn't he break a long run against us? I want to say it was him. Someone broke a really long run for the Seahawks against us, and it might have been Penny. And Tomlin and whoever else makes the decision, he says all the time that he's a fan of pedigree and has it a part of like the checkoff list when he's looking at free agents. And Penny was a 1st-round pick. Right? Or high second. So
yeah. Late 1st rounder, if I recall correctly. So I remember, and everybody was making he was one of the arguments of not taking a running back in the 1st round type once again. And they've been right, but it's been mostly because of entry. It wasn't just because he just flat out blew. Trying to pull this up as well, because it might have been Travis Homer that actually got one in on there. It does not look like Penny was active in the game against the Steelers this past year. Yeah, but it was Alex Collins though that went on 20 carries, 101 yards and a tutty, and he also had 1 reception for a -3.
That was Homer.
No, that was Alex Collins.
Okay, there you go. Okay, so keep your eye out for him.
Absolutely. It's there. It's there maybe for the taking. We'll see what ends up happening. Bro, it's still June. Vacation time, but we gave the people the content they need. We'll be right back. Just right around the corner after this one next week. We'll get back on maybe our regular schedule. Getting towards the end of June, getting closer to training camp. Still going to be a month away. We still got to cover a little bit more of the positions that are out there and some other fun stories, because I'll tell you what, I wish I could go a day without seeing somebody. The Ogunjobi news with the Rudolph thing was just ridiculous. Somebody just absolutely has to mention Rudolph. And then there's people that are like, this is a dumb move. Fire Mike Tomlin. And I'm just like,
Yeah, we're both losing years off our life just dealing with this, going on the internet too much, seeing people's complaints. I have gotten better at responding to them and just picking fights with people, but it still irks me when I see certain dumb comments of that degree, for sure.
It's tough for me as well, but we were just both at the happiest place on earth without social media was a lot, maybe makes it a lot happier. So,
Oh yeah.
by the way, nice tan, bro.
Oh, thanks. It's
be
fading a
fading.
bit, but it's
Yeah.
sticking with me. It's because
Yeah.
I've been outside with my new hoop, bro. I'm a hooper now. I got a basketball hoop.
Let me tell you,
My-
HOA would not approve where I'm at.
Oh, dude, it's my new favorite hobby. I'm out there all the time. I'm gonna get sick. I so on the box it thinks says 2 to 3 hour assembly if you have enough people. It took me and my buddy 5 hours plus. It was a full day thing, dude. Full day. So I'm out there using it. I'm
And it's a
getting my
portable
times
one.
worth.
It's a portable one. You weren't pouring concrete or anything.
Dude, it might as well have been. I might as well have done that. Man, they wrote the Bible faster, I think, than it took us to get this hoop up and going. I thought it was done 3 different times because my buddy either thought we lost something, he thought that he made a mistake that was unfixable, or, and I quote, he said, "You're sucking at this right now," because I wasn't holding something a certain way good enough for him, and he's all about getting the job done. So it was 3 times I thought the mission was failed, and we got it done. So yeah, I'm out there getting my tan on, getting my threes on, getting my layups on, and if you want some, come get some.
I'm gonna bring it. I'm gonna bring it. I might bring.
Great.
I might bring the 8-year-old. My daughter is almost like 5 feet tall already, which is like that's all the taller my mom is, but I'm 6'5".
Right
So,
on.
hey, I used to be able to dunk in my heyday. That was before I blew out my MCL, unfortunately.
You can
So,
try here, man. Practice.
I don't know. I think gravity's against me these days. I mean, I am 40 and got the dad bod going, so
I'm on my way, brother.
I hear you loud and clear. Well, folks, that'll do it for us for this edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. And yeah, Star Wars Cap brought it fresh from Orlando. I'm looking forward to seeing what's next with that as well. It's sad. It's the last one. It's the closing of that. But they got to get it out of the way soon enough. If they release this stuff in the fall, I'd never be able to watch it. I'd be too stuck on Steelers. And if you're like me, you probably watch like all the primetime games when they're on too, Thursday night, Monday night. Monday night, maybe so less. The Thursday nights, depending, and Sunday nights are usually marquee matchups. So we're getting closer though. We're in like, I think 81 days until kickoff. So
double digits, baby.
You could taste it. It was the first day of summer. You see what's next on there. There's only 4 seasons, bro. I don't know. You might be able to you put it up a little bigger. 4 seasons: winter, spring, summer, and football. That's all
There's
there is.
no
to
truer
it.
words, man.
Yes.
Everybody in my family, friends, they all know I am a different person when the fall starts.
Absolutely. And you know what else? And you may not agree with me on this, but I'm a craft beer connoisseur, but it just hits different. My birthday's in October, Halloween's October, pumpkin beers are around, Oktoberfests. I just love it. I could smell tailgating right now. Not like
you're a Joko lantern instead of a Jack-o'-lantern. You're a Joko lantern. How about that? Leave you with that. No. All right, let's wrap the show.
We need that thing with the hook. It just takes you off the screen. Exit stage right. Folks, that's Zach Flash Celadonia. My name's Joe Kuzma. And if we hadn't encouraged you to do so already, support the show. The 1%ers, you've already done it. So thank you very much for your support. And we'll catch you next week. Until next time, we encourage everyone out there to be safe, be good, and we'll catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.